Hello and welcome to the Mindset Model Podcast. I'm Sarah Davis, your go-to confidence coach. This is the place where self-doubt gets kicked out, confidence gets turned up, and you get the tools to live the life you know you are meant for. In this podcast, we dive into real stories, mindset magic, we have guest experts, and the truth about what it really takes to live your best life. So grab your coffee, turn up the volume as we are raising our standards and stepping into the version of you who owns the room. Hello there and welcome to the Mindset Model Podcast. I am delighted to welcome our guests today, Sally and Anne from 1% Happier and Healthier. Now, these incredible women are all about the high energy inspiration, empowering women, and one of my favorite messages, which is small steps to create big changes. So welcome to the show, Sally and Anne.
Thank you so much.
We're so excited to be here.
I'm so excited to have you here. So let's get started. Let's kick off. Could you please share a little bit about you, your story? One thing which I discovered about you as well is your story is so inspiring, where a lot of my listeners will really resonate with using alcohol as a coping mechanism after very busy days. That is a truly inspiring story. I love what you're doing with High Rocks as well. So take it away, ladies. Introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you.
Fantastic. And do you want to start?
Yeah, okay. So we started off as neighbours about 25 years ago. We were next door neighbours. Sally had a young child at the time.
Mm-hmm.
My twins weren't even thought about at that point. And so that's where our story began. And literally one was a mum, that was Sal, and I wasn't a mum. And we were literally partying, working incredibly hard, drinking too much, running on empty and feeling pretty awful most of the time. And that's how our journey started, which is not a good start, but it's the start of a great friendship, which has continued all these years. But yeah, do you want to tell a few more details, Sal?
Yes.
The good, the bad, and the ugly.
So I think to cut a long story short, I had another daughter. Anne was my birthing partner, and you went on to have the twins.
Yeah.
And we spent a lot of time going to the local gym and doing sort of body balance and that kind of thing. But then soon life took over. You started your own company,
Yeah.
and that kept you busy. And I went back to work full time, and of course juggling being a mum, having a job. I then got divorced and moved a little bit further away. But we did catch up with girlfriends every so often. We'd go out for a meal, and everybody else would get picked up by their other halves at about 11 o'clock. And Anne and I would look at each other and go, I think we should just go into town. And
Really?
do you know, the two of us, we're the worst. We were the worst party animals. We would get back in at 3 o'clock in the morning. And there was one particular weekend I remember I had to get up at 7 to take my daughter to a swimming competition. And oh boy, I did not feel good. And that, you know, that was an absolute recipe for disaster, having a massive hangover and spending 12 hours at a swimming pool. But again, I guess after that, we bumped into each other in the gym 18 months ago.
Yeah, 18 months ago. That's when it all started to change for both of us, because I'd just given up drinking. I'm 57 now, so I've drank a lot over the years. We can hopefully come on to that more in the rest of the interview. But when we reconnected at the gym, it was actually with my son. And I was so excited because he actually asked me for the first time, Mum, do you want to come training with me? And I was like, I'll come and do anything with you if I can come to the gym with you. And that's where we bumped into each other. And Sally basically said, what are you doing, guys? And James said, we're doing High Rocks. I still didn't know what it was at that point. And Sally said, well, can I join in? And that literally is how it all started. We reconnected, and yeah, the last 18 months we've been pretty much inseparable in terms of what we've been doing from our own personal growth.
That is an incredible start to your story. And what I love about this is, first of all, how your connection was created, that bond where you both had really crazy lifestyles
Mhm.
running around. I can really resonate with it's 11 o'clock in the evening. Everyone else is going home, looking at each other like, right, let's get wild.
Yes.
Let's party. And what was the sort of turning point? I know that you've mentioned that you stopped drinking. Was there a particular time when you thought, "Do you know what, enough is enough"?
Yeah, Sally can go first because she led me on to my journey. But I think if we're going
You were
chronologically,
the spark then,
it'll make
Sally.
Yes.
it'll make sense to your listeners.
Okay.
Yes. So I guess the spark for me was getting into lockdown. So 5 years ago.
Ah,
And I think everybody will remember it was lovely sunny days.
yeah,
And of course, everybody was allowed out for their walk. So I would go for a really nice long walk with my husband. And then we would go, let's just sit in the garden and have a few pints of lager. So that would be our little routine. And of course, you think, this is great. I've been for a
yeah,
walk. So, I deserve a nice few pints of lager. But one particular night, we had a virtual beer festival with a friend. So we normally went to the local beer festival, but of course, that was cancelled due to COVID. So we did this virtual one. And I thought, it's probably just going to be an hour, catch up over Zoom, few drinks, and that'll be it. But oh no, this Zoom lasted about 5 hours.
5 hours.
And it ended up with my husband crying down the toilet and saying he was never going to drink again. And I woke up in the morning and I just looked at myself in the mirror and I thought, what are you doing? You look like you're 6 months pregnant. You've got 4 months until your 50th. You've got a choice to make. You can either continue the way you're going and be not proud of yourself at 50, getting a bit emotional here, or you
Oh,
can turn it around and
yeah,
you've got 4 months to make a difference. So I was just doing a bit of scrolling and I came across Joe Wicks and I thought, right, he's offering me an opportunity to do
yeah,
his plan. And I thought, I've got to sign up to this. And I read it and it said, you've got to stop drinking, you've got to cook all of your meals, you've got to have no caffeine. And I thought, what have I signed up to here? This is impossible. How can I possibly stop drinking? This is me. This is, I'm the life and soul of the party. My recovery from running is drinking a bottle of Prosecco. It's part of my character and
Yeah.
yeah,
identity. It's part of my relationship, going and having drinks with my husband. And I thought, how the hell am I going to do this? And I thought, well, if I'm going to be happy with myself at 50, I've got to cut this out. So the plan literally said not one drink. And so for a month, I literally don't think I drank anything. But I guess when there was an occasion like a friend's birthday or something like that, then I'd perhaps have a
yeah,
drink. And I remember this particular afternoon tea we had at a friend's house. And of course, I just went wild. I probably drank 2 bottles of Prosecco and getting in the car on the way home. I think everybody else was probably okay. It was probably me that just wasn't. And I think this is the thing. When you drink, you think everybody else is as drunk as you,
Yeah.
and they're not. Everybody's just thinking, oh, Sally's entertaining. But yeah, so slowly over time, I kind of thought, well, that's not doing me any good either, having these binges. So I sort of over 2 or 3 years, I just reduced to having just one or two drinks, literally. So Friday night, I'd have a glass of Prosecco and that would be it. So I'd gone from, being a massive party animal, drinking Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, to just literally 2 or 3 drinks over a weekend,
Mhm.
which was massive. And we were kind of talking
Yeah,
all the while as
yeah,
well.
yeah. We were talking, and that sort of leads on to how I got started because I'd bumped into Sal and I went, "You look amazing. What are you doing?" And she went, "I'm hardly drinking. I've just reduced it right down." And I was like, "Oh my God." I came home to my husband. I said, "Sal looks incredible." But the penny still hadn't clicked with,
yeah,
come on, Anne, you need to reduce yours because I was exactly the same. I was drinking red wine and Stella Lager. So I was piling on the weight, feeling awful. It was affecting my training,
yeah,
and then my relationship with training was like go for a 10K run to basically level out the calories from the drinking. So like a run might be 400, 300 calories, and I could try and justify drinking then in my mind. So it's a really unhealthy relationship with exercise. But for me, I had a jigsaw puzzle of pieces that came together for me. So I was seeing people in the street, friends who I hadn't seen for a while, and they'd stopped drinking. I was like, they look amazing. Sal looked amazing. And then speaking to people how it it's changed things and how they had more clarity and focus on the life. And again, that was another jigsaw puzzle. And it wasn't until I actually I won a retreat, and I went to Portugal for
Wow.
5 days. And it was on that, yeah, I know, it was amazing. I would never have done it, but it was life-changing for me, absolutely life-changing, because the pause button got pressed because you just were not having communication with the outside world. And that's where all the things that I had to deal with from an emotional point of view as well, not just the drinking, sort of came to the surfaced. And there I was able to think about how great Sal was looking, how she was feeling, how other people I'd been speaking to. And on that holiday, I just went, I'm done. I'm done with drinking. I came back, I didn't look back. And that's 18 months ago.
And that was really funny. And I remember you telling me, I think it was probably over breakfast.
Yeah.
And said, that's it, I'm drawing a line. And I'm like, what? You're drawing a line? Not ever drinking again? And the first thing I thought of was, well, what about my glass of champagne at Christmas? Not ever drinking, like, on your birthday?
Yeah.
And so
I was like, no, done, Sal.
so
done.
it
Your
was
fault.
a real kind of challenge to me. I mean, I was only drinking, 1 or 2 glasses of wine over the weekend, but the thought of stopping just hadn't really crossed my mind. So that felt like quite a big step.
Yeah.
And then I just thought, well, why?
Yeah.
Why am I drinking? And by that point, it was really impacting my sleep. And, I love sleep. Sleep is one of my favorite hobbies. It's one of my favorite things
Well,
to
it's
do.
so important for you, sleep.
So important.
It's one of my favorite hobbies. And I thought, this is just really impacting my sleep. And in a way, I wasn't kind of looking forward to drinking anymore. Normally, I would get home Friday night, go, yay, glass of Prosecco, that's going to be lovely. But in the back of my mind, I'm going to have a crap sleep and I'm going to feel rubbish tomorrow. So I was almost connecting it with feeling rubbish. So in a way, it was just really easy to say, right, that's it, and I'm stopping. But my daughter was graduating from university, and I thought that is a really good high point to have a nice glass of champagne and then just draw a line. So that's what I did in July last year.
So ever since July last year, you have not had a drink.
Not had a drink.
And I want to dive in a little bit more into your story, because this is amazing and very inspiring. And I know that there'll be people listening to this thinking exactly the same as you.
Yeah.
What about Christmas? What about this? What are my friends going to say? Because, drinking alcohol, everyone's free to do their own things, make their own choices. However, there is very much in the society, especially when we were brought up, it's the thing to do.
Yes.
But do you want to do it?
Yeah.
And you made a decision before your 50th that you didn't want to feel bad anymore. And the results from cutting out alcohol are incredible. Could you tell us a little bit more about how you're feeling now, the benefits that you've noticed since you have completely cut alcohol out?
Just awesome. Just
awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It just absolutely sums it up.
And I suppose we're both quite similar in that we almost regret ever drinking. And
wow. Just going back to it as a coping mechanism. You've both got very high pressure jobs. Do you feel like that's why you turned to the alcohol? Or was it more of like a social? Could you elaborate a bit more on that?
I think probably a bit of both.
Yeah.
I think it obviously starts out socially, doesn't it? And I think I probably started drinking a lot when I was a student. Again, it was the thing that you did. You drank too much in Freshers Week, and you just had fun getting drunk and, trying all the different drinks and all of that. And then that becomes your kind of social life. You continue to socialize with the people that drink a lot. And that becomes part of your life, whether it's, going to the pub at the weekend or going to watch the rugby, you have drinks there, or you have a dinner party and everybody brings wine. So it just gets part of your social life. But I think as you, I guess, have your career and take on more responsibilities, or even just having kids and any kind of stress, you think, oh, I'll feel better after a glass of wine. And it does really become a habit. And I always used to think, because Thursday became the new Friday, and I always remember driving home from work on a Thursday, and I think I opened 2 doors. I'm going to open the front door, and then I'm opening the fridge door.
Yeah.
And that's how it would be. I can't wait till I get in.
Yeah.
It's 3 hours until I have my glass of wine. And I listened to a podcast probably about 2 years ago, and they said it was really interesting how it kind of shifted your thinking. Like if you had a headache and you were going to take a headache tablet, would you take that tablet if you knew it was going to make your headache worse tomorrow? And that's exactly what alcohol is like. That if you're going to drink to de-stress, you're going to feel worse tomorrow because you're going to have that alcohol-related anxiety. You're probably not going to eat as well as you should. I mean, how many of us wake up with a hangover and just phone for a McDonald's? Or, you know, you can't be bothered to cook, so you grab a Mars bar, or, you know, to help with a hangover, you have a can of Coke. And so it just perpetuates. It's a spiral,
doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, what about you? How do you feel?
Well, I going back to the tablet thing, I think, you know, if you woke up, you know, when you wake up in the morning after a drinking session and you've got a massive hangover, and if you hadn't have drunk the night before and you felt like that, you would literally be calling for an ambulance because you felt so awful.
Yeah.
So it's linking how bad you feel and not normalizing it. So for me, I use drink to very much soothe, calm. When the boys were little, twins, it was full on. And like for any mum and any dad, but it was come Thursday night, I was drinking that wine as soon as I could, and it really did make me feel more relaxed, you know, in inverted commas. It didn't at all, you know, it just made me more tired. I had lack of sleep anyway because the boys weren't sleeping, so it's just making everything so much worse. You know, in hindsight, it was the most foolish thing I could have done. What I needed to do was just get them in the pushchair and go for a walk around the park. That would have been so much better for all of us. But the knock-on effect from having that drink, and it was no more than a bottle of wine, but still, that was too much. And the next day, I would feel really anxious. Drink affected me in that way. I'd always feel anxious the next morning, a bit of anxiety. And then the Monday morning after drinking at the weekend was another thing, you know, coping with work and thinking, oh God, you know, everything was so much worse after drinking. Now I'm like up at 5 on a Monday and I'm like, come on, Will, what have you got for me today? Sort of thing, you know, let's have it.
Yeah, we have so much more time.
Yeah.
There is so much more time in the day when you don't drink.
Yeah.
Firstly, in the morning, because you're just up and bright and get going, but also that time from 5 till whatever, when you were probably having a glass of wine in front of the telly. We've got all that.
Yeah.
That time as well.
This is amazing. And what I love is you have recognized a habit, and you mentioned as well that it was an identity. I am somebody who cannot wait to get home, open my 2 doors. I love that. And have a drink. So you recognize this habit and you wanted to change it because and again, it's the tolerating. We tolerate being hungover and nobody talks about it. And it's as if it's like an accepted thing. But you have created a bit of a movement. And this brings me on beautifully to your 1% happier and healthier. What does this mean to you? And anyone that's listening to this, how can they start implementing this today? Tell me more.
Do you want to start about the podcast?
Yes. So, well, the podcast, we did lots of planning. No, we didn't really. So Sal said to me in the gym after we reconnected, do you fancy doing a do you fancy doing a podcast? And I was like, yeah, okay. Sal was thinking like in a year's time or so. And I have got issues with pace. And I said, well, okay, next week, let's go. So literally, I bought the microphone. We literally recorded just before Christmas. I think that was within about a week or a few days.
Yeah.
A week or less.
It didn't take us long. It didn't take us long. We just got going.
We just got going. We thought,
just got started.
Incredible.
We took that 1%, that small step to get started to where we are now. We've had, so many thousands of downloads. So it just shows it does work in that form as well. So podcast.
So we really wanted to I guess help other women or other people just take small steps to have a big impact, because we didn't stop drinking overnight. We didn't get fit in the gym overnight. It just starts with signing up to the gym and going for the first time. And the same with the podcast. you've just got to start. You've just got to start somewhere. And I think sometimes when you listen to podcasts with, you know, a whole load of celebrities on them, there's some massive thing you've got to do, and it's all very overwhelming. And you think, well, that's out of reach. That's something that those celebrities do. It's not very realistic. And we wanted something that was accessible by everybody and achievable. And you know, we're basically saying if you take small steps over time, you can have a big impact. And that's where the 1% comes in, because if you make 1% improvement every day, by the end of the year, you could be 37 times better at something. So you're just making those small changes, whether it's buying the trainers to start running, or whether it's just swapping your first coffee of the morning with a glass of water, or whatever it is for you. And I think the other thing that we're, you know, really passionate about is it's not the same for everybody.
Yeah.
Every single person is unique, and it has to be their first step for whatever it is they want to do. You know, for somebody else, it might not be alcohol. They might want to, you know, walk the length of Spain or something. You know, so everybody has their own. It's got to be what suits them. You know,
That's
what's
a
their
really
1%.
I love that messaging because it's very inclusive. What you're doing is very inspiring. I love the fact, first of all, that you are officially podcasters and you just went for it, because
Yes.
I really resonate with that. Because this time last year, maybe I think it was July last year, same as you, I was like, I'm going to start a podcast. Never done anything like this before. But I just really wanted to inspire people to be their best self. And your messaging with the 1% is so inviting, because many people get really, really overwhelmed with wanting to make changes to their life. Most people feel like they want to be healthier or fitter or have more energy, but there's so much information out there and so many big steps. And, you know, we're bombarded every single day with people in the media and magazines, like with ripped, like, you know, muscles and all sorts of things. But they've probably been doing it for years. And
Yes,
your
exactly.
messaging is, look, over time, small little changes will build up that momentum.
Yes, exactly that.
So, and I know there will be some listeners thinking, my life is so hectic. I am juggling kids, housework, working, staying alive, drinking more water, deadlines. How do you both stay consistent? What do you do?
Well, I think there's a big link for me with nutrition,
Okay.
training. So I link them all together, because I think if you can get consistent in one area and start really small at something, you can then build on that consistency skill, because that's really important. So with all of this, with athletes, with you know, high rocks athletes like we are now, obviously, you have to start somewhere, and the consistency has been absolutely key for me. But it's just that one small step to start off with. So with the drinking, okay, that's a journey. But those
Yes.
steps started a long time ago. So I started thinking about it. I started doing it. So it doesn't mean you have to start something overnight. You just need to decide. You need to decide what you
Yes.
want to do, and the planning is important as well. So that's linking, you know, a lot of things in my life, and especially the nutrition, which I've only just started getting into properly. But that took me ages to really be consistent about that. But once I started talking to Sal more about it, I got an app that was really user friendly. I've got the tools that I needed for me, for where I was, going back to what Sal was saying. I was then able to start my own consistent plan. And I think that's the key. And also, not letting people steal your time. Protect your time. That's really important, and your energy.
Could you elaborate a bit more on that? Protecting your time and
Oh my
energy,
God.
because, oh my goodness.
If you can just say yes, 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 yes to everybody. You know, here's reformed people pleaser here looking at right now.
Mm.
And it's sometimes easier to say yes than to say no. So you just say yes and you're like, oh my God, what am I actually doing here? I did not want to do this. And then you feel really crappy about yourself. So it's putting those boundaries in and deciding what you want for you. And sometimes you just have to practice it. You know, initially, and for me, I'm pretty good at this now. You know, I protect my time massively. Nobody's having it because it's so important for me to be able to show up for others. But however, by putting those boundaries in and starting off small and just saying, really sorry, I don't want to do that, or I'm not available. And that's sometimes the first step. So for your listeners who are thinking, I just can't say that or can't do that, just practice with somebody. Start low level and see how you feel, because you can easily grab some time back for yourself. And it feels so good and empowering, and it makes such a difference. And you know, it's back to putting your own oxygen mask on first.
I think that's key. I think it's about prioritizing yourself. I think, I mean, okay, everybody only has 24 hours in the day, but I think everybody could find 15 minutes for some exercise, or, you know, 15 minutes for themselves, whether that's getting some fresh air or doing some journaling. I think everybody could be carving out 15 minutes. And you remember you and I spoke about how you were going to fit in going to the gym, and we had a bit of a conversation, and you were like, okay, if I move that thing and move that thing, do that, then I could go on a Tuesday and Thursday.
Because it wasn't happening, was it? It wasn't happening.
And I had to really challenge myself as well, because when I'm in the office in London, my days can be you know, back to back, and I can, so some weeks when I just don't get to the gym, and I thought, well, there's the circuits class at work on a Tuesday, I could go to that each week. And so I tried to do that, and then of course meetings encroached and I'd failed more than I succeeded. But then all I had to do was tell my PA, you know, I really want to go to this circuits class, so let's block out the time every Tuesday, block out the half hour before, everybody knows this is important time for me. And I made it kind of clear to him and the rest of my team, this is what is going to get me through the week. And if you want a kind of, if you want a nice boss, you're going to let her go to the gym. And it's really interesting now. So it's now blocked out in my calendar in yellow. And it's, you know, now my team talk about me going to the gym, and they know that it is really important to me. So sometimes it's about sharing what is important to the people close to you. You know, so if you've got a really busy, demanding family, if you say, I really want to be able to go for a walk once a week, you know, for my time, and actually I'm going to be a much nicer wife because of it, you'll find that people really support that.
That is such a brilliant message, because you made a choice and you prioritized your well-being and your health, which so many people are not doing. There is a lot of my listeners who are people pleasers, and they get that sheer guilt. That guilt just drowns them when they feel, and again, this is all about beliefs. People believe that they have to put everyone else first before themselves, when that is so counterproductive. Because when you put yourself first, like the putting your oxygen mask on example, when you are your best self and your healthiest self, you can give so much more to the people around you. And also, I love the fact that you are leading the way, you're pioneering to say, I am putting my health first. I will be going to the gym. And other people are thinking, oh, okay. So if she's going to the gym, well, I might give that a go as well. And this is how a movement is created. Absolutely fantastic.
Well, you had that with Paul's one. So just today we were talking about an example of that.
Because I posted on my story this week about going to spin after work, and I think I've been at work for about 10 hours, and I thought, no, I'm going to go to spin, and just posted it on my story, and the before and after, I think. And then I got a message from my husband's friend who said, you know, you've inspired me to go to spin, Sally. And I thought, well, this is brilliant. If I can inspire one person, you know, if I can inspire one person every day, then, you know, I'm happy, because, you know,
that's what it's all about. And that's why you're doing this, because you want to inspire people. You're taking your own accountability accountability and your own self-leadership. 10 hours at work. Oh my goodness me. And I know that you have got a very hardcore job role in London, but you still showed up to spinning. That is sensational. And the fact that you share this on your social media as well, just to say, look, I've had the craziest day, but I've turned up and I've put myself first. That is absolutely amazing. I would love to dive in a little bit more about your podcast as well. What do you talk about? Do you have like different seasons? Is it is it random? Tell us more.
So basically, we've had an amazing selection of guests so far. And everybody that has been on is a sort of health or well-being angle. So we've had a nutritionist, we've had a yoga duo, we've had Pilates, a lady who set up a Pilates company in Northampton over 30 years ago. So she knows everything there is to know about Pilates. We've had a couple of personal trainers on. Yeah. We've had a crystal lady, therapist.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
We've had so everybody is so super passionate about their thing and how it, makes them happier and healthier. And the special thing about all of our guests is they share their tip for being 1% happier and healthier.
Amazing.
So our listeners are getting this whole array of amazing tips.
So it's brimming with advice, hints,
absolutely.
tips.
And do you know what, Sarah? The one thing that just always keeps landing with all of our guests is journaling. It always journaling is so important. And it's taken us quite a while to actually listen to these tips from our guests, but me and Sal have recently started doing it, but holding each other accountable. And actually, it's really making a significant difference to us both. So we do take on that. We get some great tips as well. So that's just one thing that we've started to implement, which we should have done a long while ago. But we get great tips from guests, and it's just great to share them with our audience.
So not only are you inspiring others, you're also contributing to your own growth as well.
Oh my God,
I love
honestly.
This. Journaling is amazing. And I am totally with you. Years ago when people were like, oh, you need to do journaling, I was like, oh, that's so boring.
That's what we thought.
Oh, I know. But it's one of those really simple tools that you can use, because many of us are on autopilot all the time. We just do things and we're not aware of our habits. And when you journal things down and you ask yourself questions, how am I feeling today? What is it? And you just get it out. It's a way for your subconscious mind to really reflect and be like, oh, okay. And it just makes things so much clearer as well. So that is a top tip. That's one of my absolute favorite things to do. Now, I love to find out about wins as well. Now, you've already mentioned that, you've already inspired someone to do spinning after a busy day of work. Have you had any people messaging you to say, wow, I've done my 1%, this is it? Tell us more.
Well, one particular lady, who we won't mention her name on here, just for privacy purposes, but she was a lady who'd not exercised. She wasn't focusing on her health. She'd been, she's pre-diabetic. She's on statins. She's had so many health warnings that she really hadn't taken notice of. Anyway, she started listening to the podcast, and she knows us personally, and she took the first leap of her exercise journey, and joined the gym and went to an aqua class.
Amazing.
And she went to that because she really liked swimming. She was a keen swimmer about when she was younger, but she knew that that's something she would enjoy. So she wanted to take that small step forward, and she shared her journey with us. And now she's at the gym. She's doing aqua aerobics. She's sometimes going to the gym twice a day. She's doing yoga. She's doing Pilates. And I saw her the other day, and she looked absolutely stunning. And she's so much happier, and she's so much healthier. So win-win.
And I've got two quite different examples. And this just shows how it could be just something really small. And this is a colleague of mine, and he has been listening from the beginning. And one of our very first episodes was about decluttering, the importance of the environment you live in, and, decluttering and, keeping your environment nice and tidy and calm. Anyway, he messaged me and said that he now has to hang his coat up, because if he just throws it on the chair, then it's kind of talking to him and saying you need to declutter. So he messaged me and said that was making him 1% happier and healthier. And then another colleague, he said that we'd made him reassess his morning routine, and instead of kind of throwing his breakfast down him and getting into work for 7:30, he just shifts his little routine around, and he just sort of sits in his hotel, has his breakfast while checking his emails, and it just starts the day a lot calmer and smoother. And he said that made him feel 1% happier and healthier. So he's kind of just constantly doing that review of what are some small tweaks I can make to my life just to help it all run a bit smoother.
That's brilliant. It is literally those 1% shifts, and it makes such a difference. Absolutely incredible. So I know that all of my listeners are thinking, wow, I need to get involved with Sally and Anne. Where can everyone find you?
We've got a Facebook community group called 1% Happier and Healthier, so they can come and join the group, and we have, great conversations in there.
Can anyone join that one?
Yes, yeah, you just got to answer some questions to get into the group, but yeah, your listeners will be very, very welcome there. We're also on Instagram as well, and we've got a YouTube channel as well, which is all 1% Happier and Healthier, so we can share those details with you.
And of course, people can listen to the podcast as well.
Number one, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, absolutely amazing. Sally and Anne, this has been sensational. I just want to say thank you so much for coming on to the Mindset Model podcast. It's been a pleasure to have you.
Thank you so much for having us. We've really enjoyed the conversation, and we can't wait to have you back on our podcast.
Oh my goodness me. I am so excited. This is fabulous. So thank you so much, everyone, for listening to the podcast today. Make sure that you like and subscribe and share this podcast with anyone that you feel could do with having that 1% shift within their life. Thank you so much, and we will see you next time on the Mindset Model podcast.